Hey YouTube, Myron Golden here. Today I'm going to show you how to make your finances fly like a plane. And
There's a giant, yeah. Here we go. You see, I got where I am because someone reached out a hand. Help me to stand, be an independent man. Because I'm standing on the shoulders of a giant. The shoulders of a giant, y'all. I'm thankful.
what we're going to do is we're going to take the physics that cause a plane to fly, and we're going to put it beside your finances and show you how if you apply these principles to your life, you can make your finances fly like an airplane, which is pretty exciting if you think about it. So I used to have apprehension and anxiety over flying on a plane. I was one of those people when I got on a plane, I never put all my weight down. You know what I mean? I'm like got my clutches like jammed into the chair, not realizing that the chair is also on the plane. Okay, so what I did in order to overcome that anxiety that I had around flying is I took flying lessons. And when I took flying lessons, I did it because it didn't make sense to me that something that weighed 250,000 pounds or 800,000 pounds is up in the sky 3 to 5, 7 miles of the sky going 500, 600, 700 miles an hour. That didn't make sense to me. So if I understand it, then I can deal with it. But if I can't understand it, it's like foofle dust, right? Like, this does not make sense. This plane weighs more than a city bus, and that city bus ain't up here, right? So I know that's a weird thought, but that was how my thinking was. So when I took flying lessons, I learned about aerodynamics, right? And so you have forces outside the plane, and then you have a feedback loop inside the plane, and then you have a pilot, right? So first I had to understand the forces outside the plane. And you got contributing. Everything outside of the plane is a contributing factor. It is not a determining factor. And I think that's where some people mess up. So if you have an airplane, that looks like right, and then you've got a wing, and if you'll notice and then you got a pilot in here. Okay, so you have an airplane wing, or you have an airplane. What happens, the wing of an airplane is more curved on the top. It's curved on the top and more flat on the bottom. It's flatter on the bottom than it is on the top. And so what happens is you have this thing called an air molecule. And the air molecule, when the plane starts moving forward, the air molecule splits. Half of it goes over the top of the wing, and the other half goes under the bottom of the wing. Because the top of the wing is curved, the surface area is bigger. This is going to make sense to you in a minute. So in order for the air molecule to come back together at the back of the plane wing, at the same time, the half of the air molecule moving over the top, because it has farther to go, has to move faster than the half of the air molecule that's moving under the plane, which is moving slower. And because this is moving faster, it produces an area of low pressure above the wing. Now I know you're probably wondering, what in the world does this have to do with anything? You're going to see in a minute. Which means this under the plane produces an area of high pressure. And to show you how all of this works, why does it produce an area of low pressure? When something is moving faster, it produces less pressure. When you were a little child, did you ever skip a rock on the water? Well, the rock is heavier than the water, so how did the rock skip on the water? It's moving so fast that it produces an area of low pressure above the water. And so therefore, it skips across the water, right? But the other principle, high pressure has to flow to low pressure. Like, that's the only direction it can go. So if you blow up a balloon and you hold up the balloon, inside the balloon, there's air. Outside the balloon, there's air, but the air inside the balloon is high pressure. The air outside the balloon is low pressure, so when you let it go, what does it do? All the air flows out. Why? High pressure has to flow to low pressure. Okay, now, if that's how an airplane works, what are the other forces? Well, we understand now when the plane starts moving, the air pressure and so forth. So we have this force above the plane called gravity, right? And gravity pushes downward. And we have this force that's opposing us in front, and that's called drag, right? So we have drag in front of us, we have gravity above us. Drag is keeping us from moving forward, gravity is keeping us from moving up. So what do we have to do? We have to have something in the plane called an engine that creates a force called thrust, and that force called thrust overcomes the inertia of the plane sitting still and causes the plane to start moving forward. When it causes the plane to start moving forward fast enough, this air molecule splits, and now high pressure has to flow to low pressure, and the high pressure that's created from thrust, and this creates a concept called lift. And what you have to understand, if thrust is strong enough, lift becomes more powerful than gravity. That's why planes fly. And I know what you're thinking. That's great, Myron, for a science lesson. How does this help me in my finances? Well, in your finances, the thing that creates gravity is bills, right? And in fact, let me do that a different way. The thing that creates gravity is bills. In fact, let's call this financial responsibilities create gravity, right? But what creates high pressure is bills. How many of you ever felt high pressure from bills, right? So bills create high pressure. So how in the world can I overcome the high pressure of bills and overcome and increase my ability to deal with the financial responsibility of gravity? Here's what I do. I increase my thrust. And I increase the speed, I increase my thrust, and I create ground speed, which turns into airspeed. How do I do that? I do that financially by earning income. Now, I want you to notice how simple and how powerful this is. When the income that you're earning comes in faster than the bills that you're paying, you have this exact same concept here. You're turning high pressure into low pressure. That is why when I teach people about making money, I always teach them that wealth has a need for speed, right? It's like, if you make $1 million, are you rich? It depends. If you make $25,000 a year for 40 years, you made $1 million. Are you rich? No. Why? It took you too long, right? And so what you want to do is you want to make sure that you have enough thrust. And this thrust is the energy that you use to create the energy and the systems that you use to create forward motion in your life. And by the way, a job does not have the ability to produce enough thrust to help you overcome the high pressure of your bills. You must become an entrepreneur, or you must become an investor, or both, because having a job is never going to make you enough money to overcome the high pressure of bills and then overcome gravity with lift. It's just not going to happen. And what most people don't realize is they think that something is inherently wrong with making money fast. And we've been warned our whole lives about get-rich-quick schemes. Well, Myron, that just sounds like a get-rich-quick scheme to me. Well, you better hope it's a get-rich-quick scheme, because you ain't going to be here long enough to get rich slow. And it's fascinating to me that our whole lives we've been warned about get-rich-quick schemes, but nobody's ever warned us about the stay broke for the rest of your life scheme. And that's the one most people are participating in. Why? They never been warned about. They know all the dangers of getting rich quick. They know none of the dangers of staying broke for the rest of your life. I submit to you that what we probably should do is we should focus on creating enough wealth fast enough so that our income comes in faster than our bills, so that we can create some lift and overcome gravity. Now, what I'm going to do on the next video, because that's just one of the components. I talked about the contributing factors. Outside of the plane, you have all these contributing factors. Here's the problem. This is why I tell people, you shouldn't watch the news. You shouldn't read the newspaper. Why? Because it should be called the bad news and the bad newspaper, right? Why? Because they're not talking about anything good. And so what happens is when you listen to politicians and you watch the news and you read the newspaper, they want to get you to believe that contributing factors are determining factors. And there's a difference between contributing factors and determining factors. A contributing factor contributes to your life. By the way, we don't have control over contributing factors. They are what they are. There are some things that will happen to you in your life that you get no choice over. They just happen. So you have contributing factors and determining factors. The way we can tell what's a contributing factor, what's a determining factor, contributing factors are all outside of us. It's the government. It's the politics. It's the fact that there are haters in the world. There are racists in the world. All that stuff is outside of me. And I can choose to let it affect me internally, and then it becomes a determining factor. But the reality is they're all external. Anything outside of me is a contributing factor, not a determining factor. Because if it weren't, nobody would ever overcome anything. So the difference is contributing factors are outside, determining factors are inside. We don't need to try to control external contributing factors. We need to put all of our energy, all of our life force, all of our thought power into controlling internal determining factors. And on the next video, I'm going to show you the inside of the plane. I'm going to show you the cockpit. I'm going to show you all of the dials and gauges on the plane that make the plane fly, that correlate side by side to different things going on inside of us and inside our businesses that can cause our finances to fly. And in order for you to become a person who creates wealth and legacy for your family, you must become a better pilot who understands the contributing factors and knows how to use all of the internal controls and the feedback loop of the instrument cluster to know where you are at all times so that you don't crash and burn. Hopefully this video helps you, and in the meantime, in between time, I'll look forward to seeing y'all on our next YouTube video. Bye for now.